I was speaking to a woman just the other day, and she shared with me that she knew what her problem was. So she was attending one of my workshops, and we were talking about weight loss. And she said, I know what my problem is. I'm an emotional eater. I just need a few strategies to help me so that when I'm emotional eating, I can distract myself and go do something else. And I asked her how that, what strategies had she used in the past? And she said, well, I tried everything. I've, not had the food in my house. I've tried to watch TV instead or, distract myself by reading a book. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I asked her, well, what kind of emotions are you feeling when you're eating? She said, well, I feel really stressed or I emotionally eat when I'm tired or I'm bored and, or sometimes it's anxiety driven or I'm feeling depressed or I'm sad. And so, I try to distract myself, but it doesn't really work. So then I end up eating. And so you know, emotional eating is a way of numbing out. It's a way of avoiding something that you don't want to feel because it's uncomfortable. And it's your brain's way of checking out. It's like a mini blackout where you get to just experience anything else or just something else that's more pleasurable than the negative feelings that you're experiencing. Oftentimes, when we emotionally eat, you tend to go for foods that are starchy or sugary because they actually trigger a physiological release of dopamine in the brain, which makes you feel good. So, if you've been beating yourself up about choosing crappy food when you emotionally eat, there's a reason that you don't eat fruits and vegetables. So, we feel a negative experience and we want to feel better, and your brain knows to go for something that actually makes you feel better. But the problem is, food as an emotional eating strategy, or reading, or watching TV, or going for a walk they're all strategies that are kind of like a band-aid. If you step on a tack and your foot hurts, you can take Advil to try to numb the pain. You could put a band-aid over it to try to stop the blood from going on your floor, or you could pretend that you don't feel the pain at all, but in the end you still have a tack in your foot. And that's exactly the reason why this woman in particular hadn't been able to get rid of her emotional eating, because they were all strategies that were band-aids, painkillers, or avoidance. And if you have a tack in your foot, the only way to permanently relieve the pain is to take the tack out. And it's exactly the same way with emotional eating. So if you can come up with the most brilliant strategies in the world to distract yourself from emotionally eating, but the only thing that's going to stop the pattern overall permanently is to feel it. And you can't heal what you won't feel. You cannot heal what you won't feel. And if you're numbing out with food because you don't want to feel the work stress is going to happen again tomorrow. It doesn't matter what you eat or you don't eat tonight, right? So we have to deal with the emotions that are causing the desire to numb and check out. So I'm going to share with you 2 ways to do this. And the first is very, very simple. Simple doesn't always mean easy, and it's going to require a little bit of bravery on your part. But there's a trigger that you find that lets you know it's time to eat. It might be the sight of food. It might be a feeling you get when you walk into your house. It might be your hand in the bag and you're one, bagel deep before you even realize that you are emotionally eating. But at some point you go, here I am doing that thing. It may be right before, it might be during, but at some point you realize you're doing it. And at that point, regardless of whether you're already doing it or you're not, I want you to set a timer for 30 to 60 seconds and feel the emotion that you're experiencing in that moment. It might be stress, it might be anxiety, it might be sadness, it might be grief, but all you have to do is feel it for 30 to 60 seconds. And likely, and often, that's already enough to tell your brain that food isn't the solution. That already begins to rewire to let your brain know that doesn't actually make sense, that eating a bag of pretzels isn't going to take away the stress or the anxiety that you're suffering from. Instead, you have to begin to feel it, get a little brave and dive in, and you'll create a solution. And if you can't, you'll still realize that eating is not the solution to the feeling that you're having. Now, the second thing that I want to invite you to do is to reach out to me for support. Sometimes we know what the feeling is. Sometimes we even know exactly what's causing or creating that feeling, but we don't know how to resolve it. We can't see any possible resolution. If you're totally stressed out by your job and every single day you come home and you're completely overwhelmed by your life, feeling that overwhelm may stop you from emotionally eating in that moment. But of course, to resolve the overwhelm on a larger scale in your life is going to take some more time and possibly support. So I just wanted to share just briefly in this video, the main message is that strategies are not going to stop your emotional eating. Only taking the tack out, feeling and resolving what's creating the emotion will stop you from emotionally eating. The second part is that I want to support you. I want to help you dive deep and boldly into what it is that you're experiencing to try to create a solution. And if that happens in one conversation, that's great. And if it happens in multiple, then I want to support you through that too. So give this little mini strategy a try this week and let me know how it works or how it doesn't. And let me know if I can also support you. Please know that there is a solution to what you're experiencing. You may only not be able to see it because it feels like you're backed into a corner between, death now or something worse later, and you can't imagine which one to pick. And when you're stuck with two impossible choices or decisions, you're likely not going to make either, and you're going to stay in a place where it feels just easier to check out and binge. So if you feel like you're there, know that there's a solution. If you can't create it on yourself or it doesn't feel possible, then reach out for support to me or somebody else around you because there is a way.